A big thank you to our friends at the Osaka Kobe Consulate for helping to arrange that message from the ambassador today. And now we'd like to move into our keynote presentations. We are truly delighted to have with us today, speaking on the business case for work style reform, the president of Procter & Gamble Japan, Mr. Stanislav Becerra. Standa arrived in Japan in 2015, coming from his role as vice president of South Africa and the expansion market, East and West Africa. Standa has had a truly global career with P&G, starting with as a sales rep in his native Czech Republic and moving into sales and marketing management roles in North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Through his career, he has established an equity for energizing people, turning around businesses, and delivering sustained growth. Standa is a true champion of talent development and is committed to developing leaders. Based on his experience working around the world, he strongly believes in the importance of diversity and inclusion as a business strategy and a key skill for leaders. Thank you so much for taking time to share your perspective on the business case for work style reform and why it's a win-win for employees and organizations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and to participate in this very, very important summit. Thank you for the great introduction. I don't know if I deserve it, but thanks so much for welcoming me here. This is my career history. I'm not going to bore you with the details. The one thing is, though, I have worked and I have experienced diversity, inclusion, women in business in different parts of the world. And actually, one of my most experienced with diversity and inclusion was in Africa. And I can talk a lot about women in business in Africa, because a lot of the participation in the business communities are actually coming from female employees and female business owners. But we are here in Japan, and I would like to share some of my experiences and my views on how the work style reform can evolve in Japan. And I will start also with some challenges that we see in the industry and overall in the Japan society. Before I move to that, I also want to introduce you myself as a person, not only as a P&G president for Japan with a lot of experience in different parts of the world, but I also like to demonstrate to my employees and to the industry that it is very much possible to have a successful business career and a successful life. And I take vacations, and I'm proud of it. I spend time with my family. I go to the places that I'd love to see. I try to leave the office early. It's not always possible. But my rule is that I want to have a dinner with my family. I want to see my kids before they go to bed. And I try to apply in most days where I work. And I think that's very important, because there is only one life. That is not life at the office and life at home. We live just one life, and it's our choice how we live it, and our choice how we provide the options and the benefits to the employees, and the example, so they can choose to live the life to the full potential, both at work and also at home. So these are just examples, but this is my recent vacation in Namibia. I took 2.5 weeks off. And obviously, I asked some of my people in my leadership team to step in. I was able to call in for some important meetings, if there was a coverage for telephone. But all of that is possible. And I really strongly encourage you, as leaders in the industry, to provide the examples, the opportunities for your employees to follow you. Let me talk a little bit about P&G. I'm sure, and I hope, that you know the company, and I hope that you use at least some of our products that will help you with your everyday life, and hopefully to make your life even more flexible. So these are our brands that we sell in Japan, and we operate for more than 180 years globally. Our company was founded in 1837, and we operate in 80 countries in the world, and I'm sure you can find our products in most of the countries during your travels. But our most important asset for the company is our people. And we are one of the few companies that still hire straight from the university, at least most of our newly hired employees, and we develop their careers. We have a policy of promoting from within, and we are trying to develop leaders within P&G and outside P&G. And that's something that we are really proud of. So as we hire people, we need to make sure that we provide the right options for them to succeed in their lives, to succeed in their careers, and to be able not to work 2 to 3 years, but to be able to work 27, 30, 35 years in the company. And for that, you need to have the right approach and the right policies. Now, moving on from P&G to Japan, and where we are these days in Japan. I don't know if you have noticed, but there was a BBC article on Japan just very recently. A couple of weeks ago, there was an article about productivity of Japan industry. And let me quote one sentence from this article. "A workplace culture of long hours and rigid hierarchies, and with an aging and shrinking workforce, Japan's only hope for economic growth lies in increasing productivity." I think this is a fantastic article that summarizes in just a few sentences the current challenge that we all face in Japan. And I think Stephen already mentioned it, that it is not about the working hours, but it is about the productivity. It is about how we drive productivity of our workforce. And the challenges are very intense in Japan. If you want to sustain our business growth and our economical growth, we need to work, or we are working in a very challenging environment. Shrinking population and the economic growth that is flat, stable, or slightly declining, at least in some categories where we operate. So the question is how we can maximize the number of people that are in the current workforce, but how we also enable them to deliver the best performance during the work hours while not overworking them, while not pushing the working hours so hard that they will be overworked. I think unleashing the potential of Japanese people and increasing the productivity is the critical ask that we as a business leaders have in front of us. It requires a very hard look at the current policies, both inside the companies, but also government policies. And we need to change some of the paradigms that we have in Japan. But most fundamental and critical step is to focus on increasing productivity. I personally do not believe that working more hours will deliver better productivity or better output. I think the study is very revealing itself, that was mentioned already today. But simply by working to the perfection, the longest hours possible, will potentially not to get you the best output. And I see 2 reasons why. One is that if you really work long hours and you work on one project to the last minute before you present it to the management or before the approval, you become less flexible. You are not flexible to listen to other points of views and inputs. You will try to stick with your position because you spend so many hours to get to this point that changes for you represents another working hours that you need to do. And then what happens is that what I've seen in the office as well, people become less flexible for change. They are less agile to understand other people's point of view. And then that requires long meetings to persuade them on the different positions. So I think working to the last minute of the project and working long hours might be very counterproductive if you think about the output that we are asking our employees. Second, I was in one of the meetings with digital companies that they have their business model based on internet. The pace of change in today's environment is very intense. And they have a motto, better done than perfect. Better done than perfect. That doesn't work in Japan, I understand that, okay? Because 80-20 is not a rule that is applied here. But they are saying the pace of change of the industry today outweighs the perfect output And if you wait to be perfect, you might not get your output right. And competition might be much faster than you when you launch a perfect product, but late. Now, that doesn't apply to our products. We need to be perfect. We need to make sure that everything is working. But it applies to some of the projects that we can work on. We need to launch them at a fast pace and with the agility to change. So if you ask me how the productivity can work in today's environment, I really believe that productivity and flexibility goes hand in hand. These are some of examples of P&G's policies or benefits that we have launched over the time. Now, as any company in the world, we do not have yet the absolute answer, but we are evolving and we are trying to evolve our policies here in Japan. I'm not going to cover one by one, but as you can see, we are trying to be more flexible over time, because we believe that providing the right flexibility to our employees drives productivity. You might ask yourself why I'm saying that. Every one of us are moving through career in a different pace. Every one of us have a different stage of life. Somebody just got married, somebody has new kids, somebody has older parents. We need to provide flexibility to manage work and also manage life. And it's a concept of working anywhere, anytime. And I think it goes a little bit in the contrary to what I see now in Japan, which is rigorously tracking working hours. How can you do that if you have flexible time arrangement? How can you go to school to participate in an event on Wednesday afternoon and then come back home late and catch up with few emails? I know that we have IT tools and you can track it, but do we really want to go all the way to track when the person logged into the VPN or make few business calls? How do you differentiate the time when somebody is traveling to the school event on the train and do a couple of emails? How can you do that? The environment is changing so rapidly that if we are forced to look at the work hours as the only measure of productivity or working time, I think it will be counterproductive to offering flexibility and to actually driving better output for the companies and, most importantly, better output for the individual. So I believe in flexibility, and I believe flexibility drives productivity. But flexibility also drives ownership. If you allow people to work on their pace, on their time, when they can fully concentrate, rather than to be prescriptive that you need to work from 9 to 6 or 7, I believe people will have higher ownership of the output of the result. They will not look at the watches, and they will not look at the boss when he's leaving the office, but they will focus on the output. They would focus on what they are responsible for, and they will be able to deliver a better business results. To be clear, we are continuously exploring. These are some examples from P&G, and we had some hit and some misses. We have tried to do things like leave early Wednesday, kind of prescriptive. So every Wednesday you leave 4 or 5 o'clock. Guess what? It doesn't work because it doesn't provide the flexibility. If you force somebody to work less on Wednesday, but their event at school is on Thursday, or they need to go to see the parents on Tuesday, you are not resolving the problem. Same we tried with Friday without a meeting, okay? Your Friday. It also failed, okay? Because we said, this is the day when you will not have meeting. But if I need to have a meeting on Friday, then you force me to do it on Thursday night or early Monday morning or call for the weekend, right? So these top-down approaches we learned over time doesn't really work. But what works for us and for me personally is the flexibility. Work anytime, anywhere, when you want, and focus on the output, not on the work time that you spend in the office. So I will close in just to tell you that I believe that just focusing on the working hours, strictly measuring working hours, is not what will make happy people. And about 15 years ago, I was in China, and I was visiting one wholesaler. And the wholesaler has a slogan that stayed with me for the rest of my career, I hope, which says, happy people sell more cases. So we translate it to happy employees, happy business. But I really believe that if you offer the right flexible arrangements, if you offer people to choose the time when they work on, it is much better than to have the old way, how you can tick the time when you enter the office and tick the time when you leave the office. And I really encourage all of us to work through the work style reform, addressing this important fact that only measuring work time is not going to increase the productivity in Japan, and more importantly, it will not make Japanese employees happier. And I think that is the key to the success, because it is not about work hour arrangement. It is about productivity, and it is about flexible arrangements, so people can be happy at work and happy at home. And I'm very much looking forward to the engagement this afternoon to talk about how we can jointly address this opportunity in Japan. And I'm very happy to contribute from P&G experience here in Japan, but also globally, to this important topic. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my speech. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm very happy P&G can contribute to this summit, and we are very open to your suggestions and inputs on how we can do better. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you so much.